Rise and burst into flames, wild ones. It's Bernadette. I'm here with your Pick a Card Daily Tarot reading for Friday, December 18th, 2020. The governing chakra is the throat chakra, and today the planet is Venus. And usually, when I hear something from Venus, the animal spirit guides, they bring me something a little softer, a little, like lovey dovey. But today, all I can hear is the Bananarama song, right? Like, I'm your goddess, your desire. That song where she bursts into flames and she's the goddess at the mountaintop. And it's probably really befitting because the card today is the porcupine. Da 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 da. And I love this card because it seems like a very straightforward card. And I know I've said that about some other cards before, but there's so much like flip side to this animal. And today, you guys are being shown the flip side of this. And what I mean by that is, porcupines are known for their quills. That has to do with storytelling. Any of the, you know, writing films, writing books, writing poetry, writing love letters. Even like, let's say you're an analyst of some kind and you work with numbers, it's still about writing, right? And it's all about the sacred scribing, which will harken back to when White Peacock came out, oh, I don't know, a few weeks back, and all I could hear in my head was sacred scribing. Today, I'm not hearing that, though it does have to do with porcupine, and this might be the message from the spirit totem and power animals, the animal spirit guides for you today. But in the oracular meanings of this particular animal, what I'm hearing is it's about it's about choices you have to make pertaining to communication and to storytelling. And what I mean by that is this. So the first misnomer about porcupines is that they can shoot their quills. They can't. They they can't. They can whack you pretty good with that tail, and they can embed some quills in you. But mostly, what happens is when you see, animals just checking. Like dogs are famous for this, right? They're checking them out. They don't mean them any harm. And then, of course, you have leopards and lions and that kind of thing that come for porcupines. And when you watch them yip yip yip, arr, 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 and they leave, their snouts are full of the quills. That's because they've shoved their faces in, not knowing any better, and the quills have gotten into them. So depending on who I'm doing a reading for, what's being downloaded, in psychic messages, whatever shamanic journeying I'm doing for somebody, when I see porcupine, spirit will let me know, which of the meanings are relevant to that person at that time, and then share with me a bit about that situation as evidence to give to that person, so that when I start talking to somebody about porcupines, they're not like, oh, she's one of those, she's lost her mind, maybe a little too much of the sacred plant medicine, and I'll be seeing you another time, right? It's not like that. So today, what I'm hearing for the collective is that it let me just go, let me just make it southern simple. If you give somebody enough rope, they're about gonna hang themselves. And that's one of the smartest things my mom ever taught me, right? Although she wasn't southern. But we adapted very quickly to here in the South from Miami. So when I'm hearing this, the very first most prevalent message of today is if you give somebody enough rope, they will hang themselves. You won't have to go out of your way to make your point. Ha ha ha, quills. You won't have to, feel badly that you've got to, shoot somebody in the foot. Ha ha ha, quills. Because you won't have to do it. You just have to show up and wait. That's all. They're going to come for you in some way. I don't mean this like drastically, literally. And you're just going to stand there and wait. And then they're going to walk away going, ow, 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 right? So that's the first thing about porcupine today. That said, white porcupine wanted to be in the deck rather than, they're very rare. And white animals are all about like crazy divine messages. They're angelic presences. They are messages oftentimes from the angel realm. And, getting quilled is not really fun. I imagine it's never happened to me, but it doesn't look very fun, and it looks pretty painful. And that said, sometimes when people do quote unquote hang themselves when you've given them enough rope, really you're doing them an angelic service because of what they'll learn from the experience, or hopefully learn from the experience. Another thing with the quills, and then, not being able to shoot them, people bring these things upon themselves. Porcupine quills are medicated so that they hurt, but they don't necessarily cause infection. And you'd think, well, in the world of animals and insects and reptiles and, at all, there are animals whose barbs, jabs, this, that, you lick a frog, you go into some other realm or you die, that kind of thing. Their bodies are programmed with that. They were designed with that as a defense mechanism. Well, porcupines are not, and that's for as much for self-preservation as it is for anything else, because chances are very good that a toad's not going to lick itself. Although, oh, Scorpio, y'all, you know what jokes are going through my head, right? Okay, let me give myself a second to gather my thoughts. Oh, Lordy, I could just go on. But anyway, okay, back to porcupine. So when you are thinking about what you want to say to people today, and you're thinking about, giving them the proverbial, you know, prick or pin or pinch or, little cut or, whatever, what saves them will also save you. And what saves you will also save them. Case in point. And thank you, by the way, for those of you that have written in and they're like, because I've been talking about this business thing I'm going through, right? And I'm on the tail end of it, I think, because I'm bringing it to a conclusion inside of myself, which always spells we're done here. And so a lot of you have written in support and that kind of thing, and I really appreciate it. It's really not one of them is as big a deal as I make it out to be, just because it's taken me a little while to piece all the parts of my heart back together, and I think I missed some pieces. They're still scattered out there in the wind somewhere, but that's what a good soul retrieval is for, right? So I have a decision to make, and there is still a part of me that just wants to wait for the right time and just have my say, because it would blow this person's hair back and it would ruin the rest of their year, and I know that. And there is a small part of me that wants to do that just because they were they're just such a heinous individual. Ultimately, not heinous individual, but the way they handle things was, in my estimation, heinous. So I've been struggling with myself because the me in here, the spiritual me that's thinking this through, knows that whatever I do to that person, I'm doing to myself. And then, and then the triple Scorpio in me is like, I'm willing to take the hit. So I've got to remember, I don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. But if there's something that you want to say, and I don't mean do, I mean say, because remember, today is the throat chakra day. Remember, we're dealing with quills, which do have to do with sacred scribing. And sacred can mean sacred, ha, or it can mean sacred like, we're going to remember that for all of time. It was awful, but we're going to remember that for all of time. So when you're thinking about these things that you want to say, whether you want to write them, say them in person, text them, whatever, but also this has to do with if you're journaling, if you're setting intention. I don't know why I just had a vision of somebody putting uh, like a letter or a note or something literally in a bottle and casting it out to the water to let it go. I know a lot of you probably do that ritual, or but for this minute, there's somebody out there, or well, there's always more than somebody, a variety of you guys that are thinking about doing something like that, or casting it into the fire. I'm being told to caution you. That's a great idea. Rock on with your bad self, right? But do it with intention that's specific, and that you want to bring about. So make sure whatever you send off into the universe, or you burn and have the smoke and the ashes float up to the divine, make very sure what you want and what you don't want, and focus only on what you want. Do not put in there what you don't want, or you're going to create exactly that. Because why? Because you're working with porcupine energy and you're sacred scribing. So these are, God love them. I just love porcupines, for all of their really powerful symbolism. But maybe just because I really am a little bit maybe fluffy and surfacey. I just love that their name. Oh my God. it's traced back to Old English and French words, and it and it means, wait, hold on. I read it the other day. What is it? Thorn pig. They mean it means thorn pig. So anything that's related to a pig is all right in my book, right? And their little ones are called porcupets. They're little porcupets. It just cracks me up every time I hear that. Now, what's interesting also is, oh, and going back to the sacred, the sacred scribing, getting your sacred voice out there, being very, very sure what you want to say and what you don't want to say, right? Um, Realize that on porcupines there are super hard quills and then there are soft quills, and so you've got the ability to go either way. Oh my gosh, this just came in. Sorry, y'all. Incoming. I would bet, I would bet if I could take a poll, maybe 50 out of the few hundred, 400 people a day that watch these videos and getting bigger every day. Thank you to new subscribers. Um, I would bet you that at least 50 of you are contending with the battle within yourself that you can't that you have a tough time saying what needs to be said in the moment that it needs to be said, whether it is an utterance of love. You know, some people can't give a compliment to save their lives. They just can't get it out of their mouth, and I've never understood that. One of my greatest joys in life is complimenting people when it's a true compliment, which is all I ever give. But and it's only ever my opinion, and that's worth what, $1.98, maybe not even that. You might ask for change if you give me that. And so I I believe at this point, not going off on a tangent, but I believe people that have a hard time giving compliments or saying something nice, or they've always got to follow that up with like a negative. Like I saw somebody, I don't know, a few months ago, um, and hair fell out while I was on all that medication at the end of last year, at the beginning of this year. So my beloved long hair, I had to cut it short. It's just not a look that I want for myself. Probably because I wore it all through high school and into my young adulthood and whatever, and wanted something different. So I saw this person and, I needed a compliment. So I said, well, how do you like my hair? And he said, well, I like it. It looks neat, neat and well kept. But I prefer long hair. Really? Why'd you have to say that? But then why was I fishing for a compliment, right? Okay. So why I went down that rabbit hole was this. Some of us have a hardest time saying something nice as we do turning around and going, hey, that's enough of that. I don't allow people to talk to me like that. Please don't talk to me like that. I don't care to talk about that now. I appreciate that you're doing this, but I don't feel like sharing that information. I mean, whatever you need to say, Lordy B, people have a hard time doing that. So with Porcupine, the cool thing is that you can work with both of those energies. If you're a person that feels like, maybe some part of you you're giving away when you give a compliment, so you don't do it, um, or you're just like crunchy, you just really don't know how to, say what you really want to say that's like stuck in your throat chakra to somebody who's being a bonehead, or they don't even have to be being a bonehead, they could just be being themselves, and then, there's no animosity, no strife, no friction, no whatever. You're just like, no, I don't really want to, or no, please don't. It's really just that simple. You may have a hard time with that. You can work with porcupine energy, especially on today. Um, maybe you've got something you want to say to somebody, but you're not ready to say it now, and you journal it now, and then keep it for in the future, or you work on it a little bit at a time. I find that when it used to be a lot when I was a kid, man, I'd fly off the handle like that, just my people who knew me were like, you understand your mouth is like a Gatling gun, right? And it took me a long time to understand the whys and the why that was not good. And then I felt terrible for, not terrible for everything I said to everybody, but for a lot of things. And so I find if it's helpful to you all, when I just really want to eviscerate a situation or someone that caused a situation, I just sit on it for a while and I write and I rewrite and I write and I rewrite, and I keep, the big trick of this is that I keep every iteration from the beginning to the end so that I can go back and I can watch my evolution in my thought process and help heal that part of myself. How do you heal what you are? Like I'm Mars energy all the way. How do I heal being a Mars energy? Well, I don't want to heal that, because if you need somebody to back you up, or there's an emergent situation, I'm your girl. You can count on me, right? And that's a good thing. But in other times it's not so great. So actually, it's interesting. I found myself working with porcupine energy during all the time I was sick and whatever. And here's the result of that. I never complained. I never got fussy with anybody. As much poking and prodding and pain and scary and this and that as there was for 6 solid months, all day, every day. Thank you. I'm really grateful. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Or do you think, or would you mind if I reminded you of, or would you explain this to me, please? And the most cooperative doctors and nurses you never saw in your life. And it was hard, because some days I just wanted to turn around and just, be Linda Blair, you and spit pea soup over everybody. But all I had to do was close my mind and envision this white porcupine with their little waddle and their little face, and know that I did not want to face plant into their quills. No, I was not trying to give myself enough rope to hang myself. Now, the reason I share these stories with you guys is A, because Spirit tells me to. B, you guys told me you don't hate them. And C, again, just to remind you guys, I'll start telling you on January 1st launches my forums, Gathering of Mystics. And I'll be bringing in, folks from my other website, Building Beautiful Souls, from whatismyspiriteemerald.com, from all the social media and whatever, because I've just had enough of social media. Listen, you can't argue with them. They're allowing you to sharecrop, right? They give you land for free and then serve you ads. Why are you going to argue about that? You're given something for free, a really valuable tool, as a matter of fact, especially if you're a business. My God, they've got the most amazing business tools for free. It's crazy. But you're sharecropping. They own the land. So when they change their algorithms, or they start, censoring to a degree that, uh, uh, mm, and I've never had it, right? I don't get banned. I don't do that. But I'm just not into it. So I'm starting these forums as a safe and sacred place for us to talk about whatever we want to talk about regarding metaphysics. And that can get deeply personal. Sometimes, people will be a little oversharey. There will be a ton of lurkers, people who never post but come to learn from everybody's personal story and their journey and whatever. So that's why I share all that. I share all of this, you guys. And I hope that it is helpful. So all of that story, about the quills and the sacred scribing, and be careful what you say and really consider it and go through it. I'm asking you to really take some consideration of that today, because what you can find is this: porcupines can have 30,000 quills. Now, I've been around many a porcupine pick a sanctuary somewhere, an animal rescue somewhere, I guarantee you they got a porcupine. And they can be big critters because their quills are long, and when they puff up, like a puffer fish, um, I'm not laughing at them. They're just so darn cute. But 30,000, y'all, I don't know where they fit them. 30,000 quills. That's a lot of words. That's a lot of sacred scribing. That's a lot of throat chakra action. So the point, but I'll be here all week, of that is, you may have a lot to say. You may have a lot of people to say it to. You may have a lot of people to say a lot to. This may be about public speaking also for you. Maybe you've got a public speaking thing you want to do. Oh gosh, y'all. Some of y'all this week have asked me about starting your own YouTube channels or your own blogs or that kind of thing. But I'm seeing, yeah, I do think that's part of it. But I'm seeing the vision in my head is something a little more formal, where you're doing a training for your company, or you're doing a training totally. There might be some of you that want to go into politics or local government or whatever. But this is about doing a lot of speaking to a lot of people. So remember that. And realize you've got the words. Porcupine can give you the words, and because it's white porcupine, those words will be divinely inspired. So I hope that's helpful. Remember, the porcupine is not one of the tarot cards in the Arcanimal Tarot deck. It's one of the oracle cards that come with the main deck. So that, let's say you're doing a reading and you're like, oh, I want more clarity on that reading. You flip one of the 22 additional oracle cards, and it will give you, you know, a little greater understanding of what really you have in front of you and what it really might be all about. So I hope you pick up your copy of the Arc Animal Tarot and Oracle deck. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit that little red ding, 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 and I will show up for you every morning. All right, you guys. So as you're doing your sacred scribing, just channel the energy of doing what? What do you want to do? You want to stay wild.